Vamos a dar inicio al taller de Brendan Keefe sobre story writing. Ustedes saben que la capacidad de contar historias, el storytelling, es para nosotros y todas las universidades presentes un dote absolutamente indispensable, un dote que hace la diferencia. Muchos estudiantes graduados de periodismo encuentran trabajo en periodismo y fuera del periodismo por su capacidad de contar historias. Y tenemos suerte de tener con nosotros Brendan Keefe por ese sexto y último día del Congreso Internacional Periodismo en Debate. Nuestro tallerista que nos va a presentar inmediatamente es Sofía. Sofía.
Buenos días a todos y bienvenidos al taller 3. Tenemos aquí a Brendan Keefe de Estados Unidos. Él es más que un reportero en directo, trabaja principalmente solo como su propio fotógrafo, editor de video, investigador y productor. Brendan comenzó como fotógrafo de noticias hace 3 décadas y tomó la inusual decisión de trabajar solo como periodista multimedia después de los 40 años. También disfruta enseñar a otros periodistas como miembro del cuerpo docente visitante del Instituto Poynter y capacitador para TEGNA y reporteros y editores de investigación. Brendan ayudó a construir el equipo de investigación de 11 Alive desde un solo reportero hasta una potencia de 7 personas que ganó múltiples premios nacionales con reportajes de investigación significativos. The Reveal, un programa de investigación semanal cofundado por Brendan, ha iniciado investigaciones que han dado lugar a acusaciones de asesinato, nuevas leyes y agencias estatales enteras creadas debido a los informes del equipo. Su especialidad es descubrir fallas sistemáticas e institucionales, particularmente en el gobierno y la seguridad pública. Su objetivo es exponer los problemas que se pueden resolver. Él nos hablará hoy sobre storytelling para el periodismo multimedia. Adelante, Brendan.
Gracias, Sofía. Entiendo más que yo hablo, estudia español en... ¿qué problema ahí? Estudia español en escuela y colegio, 2 o 3 años solamente. ¿Qué es el...? Oye.
Yeah, there is a slight noise, but we get you, Brendan.
I don't know. It's not me. I think it's coming from another microphone.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Entonces, entiendo más que yo hablo, pero posiblemente usar inglés más o menos. Gracias. Y vive en Houston, Texas. Entonces, es importante practicar, ¿no? Es la verdad. So my name is Brendan, and I'm an investigative reporter, as Sophia said. I understood almost all of that. Thank you for that, and my 3 decades of reporting. I'm going to show you a lot of video today. So
les voy a mostrar, just give me time. So Brendan nos explicó, ¿no? Que entiende gran parte de español, vive en Houston, en Texas, pero prefiere dar el taller en inglés, ya que es sobre storytelling. Nos va a mostrar muchísimos videos hoy.
Gracias, Eric. So just if there's a moment where you want something translated, just say basta, and I will stop.
Okay, si en algún momento necesitan alguna traducción, digan basta, mandan algo al chat. Brendan parará y les explicará.
Okay, so let's get started. You have to enable sharing for me.
Yeah, Sofía.
Okay, I'll make you co-host.
Great.
Tell me if you can share.
Yes, just 1 second. Let's hit play in a window. And here we go. Excellent. Okay, wonderful. Here we go. Share sound and optimize for video. Okay. All righty. ¿Cómo se dice chat en español?
Oh, chat. Utilizamos lo mismo, ¿verdad? El chat nos funciona muy bien.
Si tienen ustedes preguntas, usar el chat. And I will answer them as we go. Okay, so this is me. Here is my contact information. If you need to get a hold of me, this is my email. Let me mute that. There we go. This is my Twitter and Facebook. And this is also where you can find a lot of the videos I'm going to show today are on my personal website, brendankeefe.com.
En el enlace que está abajo, Brendan nos dice que ahí es donde podemos encontrar gran parte de los videos que nos va a mostrar hoy y obviamente pone a disposición de todos sus datos de contactos.
And so, as Sophia mentioned, I've been a reporter for 30 years now, more than 30 years. These awards on the screen are important awards in the United States. The Peabody Award is roughly equivalent to the Oscar of television reporting.
Eso, Brendan confirma que ha sido reportero por más de 30 años en los Estados Unidos y los premios que ustedes ven en pantalla, los Peabody Awards, son equivalentes a los premios más importantes en el campo periodístico y ha ganado Brendan muchísimos de ellos, 114 Emmys.
Sí. And so let's get right to the video. I want to show you a lot of video today because this is what I do. I do this every day. In fact, even though it's the weekend, I will be working all weekend on a story that's running next week.
Y nos vamos a empezar con videos porque eso es lo que hace. Igual, por ejemplo, este fin de semana va a seguir editando más videos.
So this is a lot of us during COVID, which is continuing, have been working from home.
Eso es nosotros durante el COVID, ¿no? Trabajando desde la casa.
And this is my bedroom.
Ese es su baño, su habitación.
Oh, yeah, sí. And this looks ridiculous, right?
Eso parece un poquito ridículo.
But watch the difference, and this is why I work alone. This is why I
y
work
eso es
solo.
la razón de por qué trabajas solo.
Sí.
This is all Roswell gave us in response to an open records request in 2018. A 6-page police incident report, including the date, time, location. In it, he confesses to tasing the handcuffed suspect.
Okay, again, this looks silly. It doesn't look like this is a professional production.
Okay, ahora ella dice, parece tonto, no parece una producción profesional.
But here is what we put on television.
Pero eso es lo que se vio en televisión.
This is all Roswell gave us in response to an open records request in 2018. A 6-page police incident report, including the date, times, names, location, and a 3-sentence narrative written by the officer. There's no sign of anything missing here if we didn't have an internal source telling us what actually happened. And this is the real incident report the officer filed with the case. Everything is exactly the same, except there are twice as many pages, 12 versus 6. Instead of a 3-sentence narrative, the officer goes on for 6 extra pages of narrative that are completely missing from the public report. In it, he admits to tasing the handcuffed suspect and to punching him with a closed right fist. All of that is in the secret narrative, but missing from the public report of the very same incident.
Obviously, I don't think you want to translate all the videos, but you get the gist of what?
Yeah, I can just do a very short explanation.
Okay.
O sea, Brendan dice que el punto aquí no es necesariamente traducir todo lo que se dijo, pero básicamente presenta un informe de 6 páginas, que es lo que públicamente ha recibido a su pedido, mientras que el informe real de un incidente policíaco, de lo que entiendo, es de 12 páginas, es el que ustedes encuentran en la parte de la derecha de la pantalla.
Perfect. That's exactly it. So yes, the 6 páginas y 12 páginas. No es el mismo, ¿sí? Y la policía no usan la verdad. So that's the problem here, right? So I want to show this visually. This is the concept. How do we show this visually?
El problema que Brendan quiere ver, más allá del contenido de ese problema policíaco, de esa nota, es cómo mostrar eso visualmente. Que hubo un informe público de 6 páginas mientras que la verdad está en 12 páginas.
And I could have held the paper up, but that's not the same. And this gets your attention, gets the viewer's attention, so that they will understand the concept very easily.
Ok, y Brendan quisiera saber, quizás lo pueden poner en el chat, si ustedes entienden un poco la problemática. Él dice hubiera podido sostener un periódico, por ejemplo, o la faja de papeles de 6 páginas versus 12, pero él solo pongan en el chat si les parece que la presentación que ustedes ven captó su atención.
And if you watch the very beginning, see how I'm throwing the papers and they just appear. That's all editing.
Todo eso es edición, ¿no? Eso es edición, cuando bota las 6 páginas y aparecen así en pantalla por efecto.
So I'm really holding the pages here.
Está realmente sosteniendo las páginas.
But then these right here, they change to the digital.
Yeah. Aquí cambian a la parte digital.
And if we go back to the original, you can see again how ridiculous this looks.
This is all Roswell gave us in response.
Y de nuevo dice, eso se ve ridículo desde mi habitación.
They landed on the laundry.
O sea, básicamente los papeles aterrizaron sobre su ropa.
And so if you're going to do one of these where you need a chroma key or a green background, you only need the green background behind where you are going to stand or hold an object.
Básicamente, si van a hacer chroma key, solo necesitan un fondo verde donde ustedes se van a ubicar.
Chroma key in español es chroma key.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's perfect. And this is el piso. This is the floor in my basement.
Eso es el piso de su subsuelo.
Yeah, with just a light, a blue light. And so I just made the light blue so that it would light the floor blue.
Y solo puso una luz azul en el piso.
¿Preguntas?
Alguna, déjame.
No,
it's not really preguntas, but people say, Melissa says it's calling my attention. It's an effective way to present information. It's very interesting. We understand better. Well, they like it. It's very impacting.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Perfect. Okay.
They like it.
This is another, oh, wait, let me go back. So here is a view from the ceiling looking down on my setup in the bedroom.
Okay, eso es de una cámara que Brendan ubicó en el techo de su habitación.
Yeah, and you can see it is a mess. It is a mess.
Es un relajo.
But that's okay because we're only going to use this portion right here.
Pero no es un problema ya que solo se va a utilizar la parte cromada.
And these are the hand weights that I use only to hold down the chroma key because as you can see, I don't do much exercise.
Y Brendan dice que esas partes de aquí son las alteras, las pesas que está poniendo solamente para tensar la tela verde porque dice que, como lo podemos constatar, no le sirve mucho para hacer ejercicio.
So let me switch to this. There we go. And the important thing when doing chroma key is lighting. You want the chroma key to be well lit and evenly lit. And then also...
Entonces, mucho cuidado con la iluminación, ¿no? Para hacer un buen chroma key, ustedes quieren que realmente haya una iluminación homogénea.
And in this case, I'm using the same light to light the chroma key as I'm using to light me as a backlight or as a fill light and a backlight.
Yeah. Está utilizando, bueno, para los que saben hacer televisión, está utilizando, por ejemplo, luces de su casa para hacer el famoso triángulo de iluminación, ¿no? La luz principal, el key, el back y el fill, que son básicamente las 3 luces que necesitan para hacer un triángulo de iluminación.
So, do you want to translate this, Eric?
Sure. Multimedia journalists rule the world. Los periodistas multimedia dominan el mundo. And I'm very happy to have that because we rewrote the career of journalism to multimedia journalism 15 years ago. So we are happy to see that we are going in the good direction.
We are. There's never been a better time to have more than one skill set. So I am
No hubo nunca un mejor tiempo para ser multitalento.
I'm a reporter, I'm a photographer, I'm an editor, I'm a producer, I'm an investigator. It's important to be all of those things. And then you have the freedom to follow your creative vision.
Brenda nos dice que, bueno, es fotógrafo, editor, reportero, investigador, productor, y lo que le da la libertad de seguir su imaginación, su creatividad.
This is another example of me on camera, and it's what in the United States we call a stand-up, and in Britain in British English they call it piece to camera. What would you call it in Ecuador?
Ejemplo de un stand-up. Well, we use the word stand-up also. Yeah, so there's no problem with stand-up.
Okay, I do many of these to try to explain complex subjects in a simple way.
Okay, hace muchos stand-ups para tratar de explicar la temática de manera lo más simple posible.
What I'm trying to show here is that the COVID-19 virus spreads in a compounding way, so that it's not 2 people get sick and then 4 people get sick and then 6 people get sick and then 8 people get sick, but it's actually 2, 4, 8, 16, 32.
Ahí está tratando de ilustrar la manera con la cual el virus del COVID-19 se multiplica de manera exponencial.
So let's watch.
The reproductive rate of the COVID-19 virus with minimal interventions is expected to be around 2. That means the average infected person can be expected to infect 2 more people. But that progression isn't 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. The number is compounded. That means 1 person infects 2 people, 2 people infect 4 people, 4 people infect 8 people, 8 people infect 16 people, 16 people infect 32 people, 32 people infect 64 people, 64 people infect 128 people. That means if one infected person who doesn't need medical attention stays out of the hospital, out of the doctor's office, stays at home, they can keep themselves from infecting hundreds of people.
Eso básicamente, no lo voy a traducir, creo que todos lo entendieron la manera de presentar, pero es para básicamente decir que si una persona infectada se queda en casa, evitará infectar potencialmente cientos de personas.
Exactly. So this took, I think, 120 layers of video.
Eso recuerda que más o menos le tomó unos 120 capas de video para hacer esa toma.
So how did I do it? Let's see.
¿Cómo lo hizo?
Again, I'm using the chroma key.
Otra vez chroma key.
And I'm standing so that there's nothing behind me, no road behind me.
Y se ubica para que no haya nada atrás de él, que no haya en particular la calle atrás de él.
Can you see the pointer, the cursor on the screen?
Yes,
no?
yes, Brandon.
Okay, good. Okay. So if you look here, there's the shadow of a ladder.
Si ustedes ven aquí, es la sombra de una escalera doble.
And a shadow of another camera. So there's 2 cameras here.
Y aquí es la sombra de otra cámara a la derecha. Hay 2 cámaras aquí. Una la pequeñita encima de la escalera y la otra a la derecha.
Right. One camera is a GoPro on a clamp on the top of the ladder.
Esta es una GoPro que está con un grip en la parte alta de la escalera.
So what I did is I just said I said each of these numbers in each position facing izquierda y derecho.
Okay, entonces,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, se ubicó para dar los números así 2, 4, 8, 16 mirando de ese lado de la cámara.
See, and that's how I did those many layers. Let me ask you, do you think that worked, or was that what we would call a gimmick?
Okay, misma pregunta de Brendan, y por favor, una respuesta en el chat que yo le da. Él quiere saber si para ustedes funciona, y sean honestos, o sea, si no funciona, lo dicen y no pasa nada, pero si para ustedes funciona o si fue algo, eso sí no sé cómo traducir un gimmick en español, pero algo como que quizás que suena falso, quizás maybe would be that, something that looks false, that would be gimmick, more or less.
I agree. So if you're just doing this to show off, then you're not furthering the story. But
Okay,
if
si
you're
ustedes
doing,
hacen esto para show off, ¿no? Para, sí, para, se me fue mi español, to show off. Gente del taller, ayuden. To show off es to brag.
solamente por presentación.
Para presentación, etcétera.
Sí.
No contribuirá realmente a profundizar la historia.
But if it furthers the story and helps people understand, then it is not that. It's not a gimmick.
Pero sí ayuda la gente a entender la idea de que básicamente una sola persona que se queda en casa puede evitar contaminar a cientos. Entonces no es algo ficticio, es algo que funciona, que ayuda a profundizar la historia. Brendan, just a question for me.
Yes.
How long did it took you to do that presentation?
4 hours.
4 hours.
4
Okay.
horas.
Le tomó 4 horas hacer esa presentación. 4 horas.
And that 3 of those hours were editing.
Y obviamente 3 de esas horas eran la edición. 1 hora en el terreno y 3 horas editando.
Yeah, copy and paste is your friend. So once I made 4 or 5 of me, I just hit Control C, Control V.
Después copy-paste era su ayuda, ¿no? Control C, Control V, hizo 3 o 4 tomas de sí mismo y después lo copia.
Let me ask you, do you want to see a full story that does not have subtitles, or would that not be as helpful given the translation?
Ok, una pregunta de Brendan para todos ustedes. ¿Quieren ver una historia completa y después les traducimos, les explicamos lo que pasó, o les va a complicar a nivel del inglés? ¿O vemos una historia completa que les podríamos explicar después? Rápidamente, póngame sí o no en el chat. Veamos, yes. Okay, yeah, it's yes.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of those. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Mi gato está aquí.
Tu gato está aquí. Yeah, mine too. He's very interested in multimedia journalism. Yeah.
Okay, this story is you know what? I will play the story and then we can talk about it on.
Okay, le va a mandar la historia y después hablaremos de ella, ¿sí?
It is hidden in a narrow patch of forest between rows of $500,000 homes. Even looking straight down, nothing betrays the mystery of what lies beneath. These tombstones are all that's left of the old Black Baptist church at Stony Point. Look closely at the dates. Why do they all end before 1912? This is not evidence of promises broken, but of loved ones kept away, because the men, women, and children buried here were the only black residents of Forsyth County, Georgia, for nearly all of the 20th century.
All of the Negro people had to leave. There was knocking on the door, and they were told to get out.
Elon Osby heard the story directly from her own mother, Willie Mae Bagley, just a 2-year-old back in 1912 when the Night Riders came to their home and so many others in Forsyth County.
Can you imagine the fear that they would have felt? There was a wagon that my grandfather had, and so whatever they were able to, get on that wagon and save, that's what they left with.
William and Ida Bagley paid taxes on 60 acres they owned in 1912. We could find no record of any sale in the county courthouse except those of white men later selling parcels of the Bagleys' land to one another.
When you were forced to leave and you're fearful of your life, would you have come back a couple of months later so you could do a business transaction?
The 1910 census showed the Bagleys among 1,098 black residents of the county, a tenth of the total population. By 1920, nearly every last one of them was gone.
There are these long stretches where decade after decade, the black population of Forsyth County is 0.
Author Patrick Phillips documented the racial cleansing of Forsyth County in his book Blood at the Root after he grew up near Brownsbridge.
What's really unique about Forsyth County is the bigots and the racists and the white supremacists in that community, which is not to say all of them, because there were quiet dissenters like us, but they succeeded and they won and it worked and it held.
There weren't segregated water fountains and segregated bathrooms and segregated lunch counters because there was no black population to be segregated from the white population within the county.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And you know, part of what is mind-boggling is this is about 30 miles north of you know, where Martin Luther King was born.
Historical photos show only white faces after 1912. So what happened that year? Thousands turned out to celebrate the public hanging of two black teenagers convicted in a single day by an all-white jury of raping and murdering a white girl named May Crow. The other black suspect had already been lynched right here on the Cumming Courthouse Square.
The lynching of Rob Edwards involved a very large crowd gathering outside the jail, dragging him out of the jail, beating him with crowbars, dragging his body around town behind a wagon. And then eventually his corpse is hoisted to, on a telegraph pole, and everyone in the crowd takes turns shooting into his body.
Time has not stopped at the cemetery where May Crow is buried next to a Confederate soldier. The headstones here continue through the 20th century, unlike the black graveyard at Stony Point. What emotions come to mind when you see those pictures of those tombstones, some broken, some buried, some recently unearthed?
That white people felt we had no value, not in life and not in death.
White only, no black! The constitutional right!
Civil rights leader Hosea Williams and other activists marched twice in Forsyth County in January of 1987.
We haven't had none up here since the first of the century.
They have the right to live wherever they want to, but we have the right to choose if we want a white community also. That's why we moved here.
They were met with fierce resistance, which locals blamed on outside agitators.
We were invaded. We were their battleground.
Black and white together in Forsyth County. There's no other way.
Not outside agitators, but in fact, a really endemic kind of fear and bigotry and readiness for violence that was taught one generation to another and passed down.
The phrase racial cleansing is offensive to them. Shouldn't it be?
I don't know how they can say it's offensive to them. What do you think it was to us?
Back in 1912, whites also blamed outsiders as papers across the nation documented the campaign of terror that led to the expulsion of the entire black population. But we don't know how the local paper covered it because this is the only known surviving edition of the Forsyth County News from all of 1912. It features an article praising the public executions. Most of the Forsyth County News has been microfilmed, digitized. You can access it online. But 1912, all but one issue, one edition, has been erased. It's vanished. What's the importance of making sure this history isn't erased?
So that it doesn't happen again.
Just across from the spot where Rob Edwards was lynched, Lady Justice faces history wearing her blindfold. But soil from the square has been collected in a jar, and the name Rob Edwards will soon join the lynching memorial at the Equal Justice Initiative.
The Community Remembrance Project of Forsyth County really got this rolling and worked with the Equal Justice Initiative. So they're going to put up a marker that will memorialize Rob Edwards and tell the story of that lynching. And that's going to be on the spot where he was lynched, which is something I never thought I would live to see.
This with the marker is a first step. I hope that it will continue. I hope that there will be other efforts made by white people to make this a new norm for Forsyth County and everywhere else in the world.
There are already several hidden markers to the black community that once thrived here, now surrounded by new neighborhoods that are increasingly diverse. Some of those new residents are buying homes here, on the land Elon's grandparents once owned. The old Bagley place is now among the most valuable real estate in Metro Atlanta.
Eric, did you want to
Yeah, maybe, sí,
that?
rápidamente no se va, pero básicamente es la historia, empieza con la historia. Brendan nos va a explicar cómo busco contar esa historia, pero básicamente es de un condado en el cual, muy escondido, empezamos con las tumbas de algunos residentes afroamericanos, ninguna fecha después de 1912, porque aquí hubo una lucha muy fuerte de la comunidad blanca a una época para que esa comunidad sea únicamente reservada a los blancos. Expulsaron la población afro, que era más o menos 10% en ese entonces, y ahorita es la pelea de saber si regresa a ser una comunidad mixta, ¿no? Con población blanca y negra. Ahorita creo que más allá de la historia era larga, creo que hay muchos aspectos narrativos que Brendan nos va a explicar.
I see Erica asks, ¿cuántas cámaras y de qué tipo uso para este reportaje? How many cameras do I typically use for a story? Cuatro o cinco?
And what kind of camera?
And what kind? Yeah, what type? Right, what type? Tipo. Entiendo. This is a great question. This camera in this view is a GoPro style camera.
Esta, por ejemplo, es una GoPro. De esta, Erika, de esta toma es GoPro.
And I have just taped it to the ceiling using gaff tape.
O sea, solo utilizo gaffer para bloquearla en el techo.
The camera here in the view is a small news camera, which is also the camera I'm using right now as my webcam.
Ya, ok. Y ustedes ven que vemos un boom, ¿no? Un boom con un micrófono para la entrevista. Esa es una cámara video clásica pequeña.
This camera is a Sony A6000.
Esta es un Sony A6000.
And it's, I'm using prime lenses.
Con lentes prime.
Right. So these are lenses that don't zoom. They are they're very bright and fast and have a shallow depth of field. See.
Eso es una marca que le gusta pero no hacen zoom estas, pero son de muy buena calidad.
This is another Sony camera, the Sony A7 series camera.
Esa es la Sony A7.
It's a mirrorless DSLR.
DSLR.
Sí. And this view is a 50 millimeter at f1.4.
50 milímetros a punto focal 1.4.
And this is an 85 millimeter at f1.4.
Y eso es 85 milímetros con la misma apertura.
And it's very important when using a shallow depth of field to decide where you want the focus.
Es muy importante cuando ya no hay tanto profundidad de campo de decidir dónde van a poner el enfoque.
It's usually los ojos.
Típicamente los ojos.
Sorry, I keep interjecting my
and you have a drone also, no? You also use a drone.
What's that?
You also use a drone.
Yes, so there's a drone in here. So the very first shot is a drone.
Sí, y hay también tomas de drone.
And so this was important to sort of start the story with an establishing shot.
Eso, por ejemplo, esa toma es importante para Brendan porque es iniciar la historia con lo que se llama un establishing shot, un plano de establecimiento que típicamente es un plano abierto, un plano largo, long shot.
And I'll get back to the cameras in a second, but you can see I start the story with today in the neighborhood, and I end the story with today in the neighborhood.
Empieza y termina la historia con un formato, recuerden, para mis estudiantes, lo que llamamos un poco el formato circular, que inicia y termina de la misma manera. En ese caso, Brendan habla de la situación de hoy en ese barrio, al inicio y al final.
And I've done a little bit of color correcting to focus on this spot.
Y ha hecho un poquito de corrección de color para focalizar en ese punto. No sé si ven la flecha, es más o menos en la parte central, un poco arriba. Se focalizó en ese punto.
Yeah, this part of the shot is brighter because that's where the hidden cemetery is.
Ustedes no sé si se dan cuenta mirando, por ejemplo, la parte justo abajo del bosque. El bosque en el centro es un poco más claro y lo hizo a propósito porque ahí es donde se encuentra el cementerio escondido.
Abajo en las árboles.
Abajo, escondido en los árboles, las piedras tumbales.
And here I'm using a slider. So this is a camera on a motorized slider.
Look closely at the dates. Why do they all end?
I'm not sure. What is a slider, Brendan?
Okay, so a slider is a, I wish I had it in front of me. It's the camera goes on the slider and it's either manual or it's, una máquina. And,
yeah, okay.
and with a motor.
Ok. Puede ser manual o con un motor y se pone la cámara. No estoy seguro de cómo se traduce. Déjeme un segundo. Voy a buscar para compartir una vez que lo encontraré.
And some of these shots are actually from this camera, which is the Osmo Pocket.
Y algunas de estas tomas vienen de una cámara que es un Osmo Pocket, ¿no?
It's a gimbal, a 3-axis gimbal, small.
Que es un gimbal, yeah.
And you can run it from the phone app.
Y la puedes manejar desde una aplicación de tu teléfono.
So another thing, a lot of people like to take, let me just turn this off, sorry. A lot of people like to take photos that are digital and just show them full screen.
Muchas personas les gusta tomar fotos digitales y mostrarles en plena pantalla.
I prefer them like this, where she brought the frames, so let's take a picture of her looking at the pictures.
Y Brendan prefiere tomar fotos así, donde ella está mirando a la misma, ella sostiene el frame, el marco de la foto, y lo está mirando. O sea, eso es una toma típicamente que llamamos over the shoulder.
And then I also took them out of the frame, and I just took pictures of them on the deck, on the wood.
También ha sacado algunas fotos de álbumes y les ha puesto solamente en la madera de la terraza.
And I think it's effective versus trying to put it on the screen as a digital photo.
Y para Brendan eso es efectivo. En lugar de ocupar todo el marco con la foto, dice que esa manera de presentarlas también es efectiva.
And these shots are mostly from an iPhone that I brought into the clerk's office.
Yeah, eso es de un abogado, para la oficina de un abogado o de registros públicos, y eso es básicamente con el iPhone.
It's harder to bring a big camera into the courthouse without them asking questions.
Yeah, porque obviamente es difícil de llegar en un lugar así de oficial, legal, con una cámara grande sin que empiecen a hacerse preguntas.
So these are still photographs that I've taken with the iPhone, and I'm zooming in on them in editing.
Esos son fotos, ¿no? No es video. Simplemente agrega el efecto de zoom al momento de la edición.
And let me see, what's this question?
¿Qué recomendación? What recommendations or goals do you do to write stories that connect, that do not bore, and that can be transcendental?
Great question. So the big thing is to visually engage the audience.
Okay, ustedes tienen que atrapar la audiencia visualmente.
So when I'm saying that there were 1,065 Black residents and now there's 0, it's helpful to have an old photo with these numbers on the screen, for example.
Por ejemplo, ahí te toma el ejemplo de que hubo la época en la cual fueron expulsados a la fuerza de esa comunidad, eran 1,065, hasta llegar a 0. Entonces, por ejemplo, ahí dice que es muy útil tener una foto vieja, un poco en sepia, en blanco y negro, para ilustrar eso.
And you'll see here we do a lot of interviews on Zoom.
Yeah, muchas entrevistas en Zoom.
So in this case, I treat the computer like it's a person sitting in the room with me.
Entonces ahí, por ejemplo, trata la computadora, la pantalla, como si fuera la fuente sentada en el lugar con él. I have a question. You asked that man to, because there is a shot of that man, you asked him to shoot himself?
Yes. So that was my next,
yo pregunté,
my next point. It's a great question, Eric. So Yes, I asked him, what kind of phone do you have?
Ok, pregunto al señor qué tipo de foto de celular tiene.
And then I said, when he said what kind of phone, I explained to him how to set it to 4K video.
Cuando le dijo la marca de su celular, Brendan explicó a este señor cómo ponerle para grabar video 4K.
And then I asked him to record video while putting it on top of a stack of books.
Y le dijo de poner su teléfono encima de una pila de libros y de grabarse.
And then I had him send me a sample photo.
Y después le pidió que le mande un ejemplo de foto de lo que había hecho.
Right, an example. And then I said, perfect. And then he recorded video and sent it to me through Dropbox. A link, I sent him a Dropbox link to send it to me.
Y después se grabó y Brendan le mandó un enlace para Dropbox y el señor descargó el video en Dropbox.
And then I was just able to sync it with the rest of my interview.
Y obviamente después lo utilizó en el marco de la entrevista que hizo.
So that was very helpful. And then here, when I shoot, I try to have a piece of me in the shot. This is not a good shot, but I do try to have...
No es una muy buena toma, ¿no? No es una muy buena toma, pero siempre trata de estar él también en el marco, en el shot.
So then this feels like there's two people talking to each other in a room, not two disembodied heads.
Eso ayuda a que se sienta que hay dos personas hablando y que no sea despersonificado. O sea, no estás hablando con una pantalla, parece más bien dos personas hablando.
Perfect. So you see how many different cameras we're using here. Sometimes it's an iPhone, sometimes it's a big news camera, sometimes it's Zoom. And,
entonces puede ser todo, ¿no? Cámara vía Zoom, iPhone, una cámara de video, digamos, tradicional, utiliza muchas.
People always ask me, what's the best camera?
Y cuando la gente le pregunta a menudo cuál es la mejor cámara.
The old answer is the best camera is the one you have on you.
Y la mejor respuesta siempre es la mejor cámara es la que tiene a tu disposición.
But each camera is like a tool. You wouldn't say to a carpenter building your house that he can only use a hammer or only use a saw.
Pero tú no dirías a un carpintero que construye tu casa que solo puede utilizar un martillo. O sea, tú le dejarías utilizar lo más adecuado.
So sometimes it's the GoPro and sometimes it's the iPhone and sometimes it's the news camera.
Entonces no hay realmente una respuesta a eso. A veces la mejor cámara es el iPhone, a veces es la cámara broadcast, a veces es el GoPro, a veces es el drone.
And sometimes it's all of them at the same time, like in my interviews. I try to do one person with many cameras versus two people with one camera.
O sea, y a veces son todas juntas. Y por ejemplo, él dice que muy a menudo, en particular en las entrevistas, trata de utilizar varias. Brendan, a question, for staging that interview of that lady on her terrace, just the stage, how long did it take?
20 minutes.
Ok, dice, y ahí es donde todos nosotros, digo, facultad, estudiantes, tenemos que realmente aprender la velocidad, pero eso viene de la experiencia. Por ejemplo, él utilizó 20 minutos para ubicar todas las cámaras para hacer esta entrevista. 20 minutos, que es un tiempo razonable. Obviously, Brendan, I guess that if you had to use, I don't know, 1 hour and a half, it wouldn't be worth your time and the time of the people.
That's right. The other thing is, this was an easier setup because there's no lighting. I'm using God's light.
Yeah, okay. Entonces ahí dice que la facilidad es que aquí no hay luz artificial, no llegó iluminación, se utiliza la luz de Dios, la luz natural. Entonces en ese sentido fue fácil establecer el set.
And because of the natural lighting, it's easier. But also you'll notice she's still lit from the correct side and everything. So there is the main thing is the thinking ahead of time. Where am I going to sit? Where is she going to sit? And then where am I going to put the camera?
But do you do scouting before? Brendan dice que, por ejemplo, es importante la parte de preproducción, de pensar dónde vas a estar. Y yo le pregunto si está haciendo lo que llamamos scouting. Do you do scouting?
If I have time, sometimes we're just meeting someone at their house, and then they say, we want to do it here. People always want to do interviews on their couch, on their sofa.
Yeah, dice que a veces si tiene tiempo, hace scouting. O sea, hace un primer viaje para ver dónde va a estar, pero muy a menudo no hay tiempo. La gente dice, quiero que la entrevista se haga en mi casa. Muy a menudo quieren hacerlo en su sofá.
And in this case, well, let me go back. If they're sitting on the sofa, there's usually a wall right behind their head. There's no depth to the shot.
Y en general, si tú haces la entrevista en un sofá, en la sala, por ejemplo, típicamente atrás de un sofá hay un muro. O sea, no hay profundidad de campo.
But here, well, actually, this was during the lockdown, so we had to do the interview outside.
Aquí, bueno, también hubo una obligación. Es que era durante la epidemia de COVID, entonces no había cómo ingresar, tenía que ser afuera.
But that's great because it's really an outside story. And then the other thing is that I don't know if you can hear the cicadas, do you have cicadas in Ecuador? Cicadas?
I have no idea what it is.
They're like a cricket. They make a buzzing sound.
Yeah. See, yeah, of course, in the Amazon region, we have like that.
Exactly. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, we have that.
What do you call those?
Chicos en el chat, ayúdenme. ¿Cómo llamamos esos animales que hacen? ¿Cómo se llama?
Grillos.
Grillos.
Grillos. Okay.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole story, you hear those grillos. It's like there's like a zzz, and
I'm receiving help from the chat. That's good. That's great.
Oh, grillos. There we go. Grillos.
So that was a good location for you. That was a nice place to do the interview.
Perfect. Un momento, mi perro es en la puerta.
Oh, okay. Hacemos un break en el taller porque el perro de Brendan está en la puerta y aparentemente quiere participar.
Come on, perro. Perro.
Todos sus animales están muy interesados por su trabajo.
That's right. Okay. So if you, I like to make my problems solutions.
Brendan le gusta que sus problemas en el terreno se vuelvan soluciones.
Right. So take your negatives and turn them into positives.
O sea, cualquier cosa que sea positivo, háganlo, que sea negativo, háganlo positivo.
So when I was doing this interview with this woman, these grillos were making this, zzz, and it was,
durante la entrevista, esos grillos hacían mucho ruido.
But then I heard them again at the cemetery.
Pero después también estaban en el cementerio.
So instead I embraced the sound and made it a character in the story because it is a southern US story.
Entonces, como esa es una historia de la zona de Atlanta, o sea, de la parte sur de los Estados Unidos, decidió tomar ese sonido de ambiental y hacerlo parte de la historia.
So, oye, listen beyond the music for a second, and you'll hear, I'm going to go through the
Escuchen los grillos atrás de la música.
It is hidden in a narrow patch of $4.5 million homes. Even looking straight down, nothing betrays the mystery of what lies beneath. These tombstones are all that's left.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, sure. We hear you very well. Todos, Brendan quiere saber que han detectado muy bien, o sea, los cambios de niveles, ¿no? Cuando lo pone primer plano y lo bajo a segundo o tercer plano.
Now, you'll also notice if you are going to use music that you need to edit to the music. You can't put the music on after. You have to do it on. You have to put the music on first.
Dato importante de Brendan. Si ustedes van a musicalizar una parte, no pueden editar su secuencia y después agregar la música. Tienen que hacer lo contrario. Tienen que primero poner la música y editar siguiendo el ritmo de la música.
And then you'll hear the shots, the changing of the shots happens on the beats or on the notes.
Y ustedes verán cómo los cambios de tomas ocurren en los beats, en las notas precisas.
Life and not in death.
¿Sí?
Why don't
And then here, there's another one here. Here.
Stones here continue through the 20th century, unlike the black graveyard at Stony Point.
Hear the difference? Or see it?
Creo que sí, todos ustedes escucharon, ¿no? Cada vez que hay una nota fuerte, paf, la toma visual cambia. Eso obviamente no se puede hacer al revés, o salvo, o sea, si les cae por suerte. Sure.
And I'm going to share the video again in a second, but I want to just mention music for a moment. The music is also a character in your story.
La música es también, debe ser considerado como un carácter de su historia.
But it's very powerful in terms of directing people to an emotion, telling people how to feel.
Sí, es muy poderoso, es una herramienta muy poderosa para que la gente sienta cosas, dirigir a la gente hasta tener un cierto tipo de emoción.
And as journalists, we have to be careful because it is dangerous, because you can tell people how to feel.
Y eso es peligroso como periodistas porque podemos decir a la gente cómo sentir.
But I do like to use the music. Music is an editorial choice, just like, do I shoot this person from down low or up high? Do I zoom in? What words I choose?
La música es igual que las palabras que ustedes buscan. Si deciden hacer una toma abierta, hacer un zoom in, un zoom out, es una decisión editorial.
And so every word we pick is an editorial decision.
Cada palabra que escogimos es una decisión editorial.
Is someone a rebel or a freedom fighter?
Yeah.
Is someone a victim or a survivor?
Si alguien es una víctima o un sobreviviente.
That's an editorial choice.
Eso es una decisión editorial.
Música es el mismo.
Y música es lo mismo. There is a question in the chat. How do you place the cameras so that they are not visible between themselves, that they do not interfere? Hi, Gato.
I call this cat little, pequeño.
Pequeño.
No pequeño ahora. Let me see if I have an answer to that question. I don't. I was trying to see if I had a diagram. There's something called the axis.
Hay algo del eje de acción.
And all of your cameras have to be on one side of the axis or the other.
Y todas las cámaras tienen que estar de un lado del eje de acción y no el otro. If not, it's like in the soccer game. Si no, es como en un estadio. Si ponen cámaras de los dos lados, parece que el mismo equipo corre en dos sentidos, el eje de acción.
Exactamente. It's if you have the equipo izquierda, equipo derecho, but then the camera's on the other side of the estadio, all of a sudden you're like, wait, that's not right. And it's the same in an interview.
Es como, por ejemplo, en una carrera ciclista. O sea, si la cámara pasa del otro lado, el sentido de la carrera cambia. Yeah, I think they know that.
Yeah, and so there are many tricks for remembering the axis.
Hay muchos trucos para recordar ese concepto de eje.
So I like to use one called reporter sandwich.
Él utiliza uno que se llama el sándwich del reportero.
So if I was doing an interview right now with someone across from me here.
Like your cat. Okay, you're doing an interview.
Yeah, I'm interviewing my cat.
Yeah.
I want all of the cameras on this side and all of the lights of the key lights on that side.
Entonces, por ejemplo, si hace una entrevista con Chiquito, va a querer las cámaras donde nosotros estamos y la iluminación del lado de la pantalla o de sus estatuas de premios.
Entonces, reporter sandwich. Another way.
Okay. So your source is the ham in the sandwich. That's it?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Yo no sabía de dónde venía el nombre, pero básicamente el gato es el jamón y Tenemos dos, ya, ok. Por eso se llama sándwich.
Jamón y queso.
Jamón y queso.
So let me show you, because lighting is important too for that same question. You know, how do you not get the cameras in the shot? You just think of it like a V. So think
Hay
of,
que pensarlo como una V, porque más allá de la pregunta sobre la posición de las cámaras, es también muy importante ubicar bien la iluminación.
so if it's a V, then the camera on me is facing this way, the camera on this person's facing this way, so that otherwise they would face each other, right? And you would see the cameras in the shot, but because the angle is moved off like this, now you can't see the shot.
Tú tienes que ubicar la cámara que está apuntando a ti y la cámara que apunta a la fuente en V, porque no pueden estar frente la una a la otra, porque si no, obviamente las dos cámaras se estarían viendo.
So that brings us to lighting.
Y eso nos lleva naturalmente a la iluminación.
And this is a problem everyone's faced working from home. How do you...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. Todos hemos tenido ese problema en sesiones Zoom o cuando trabajamos en casa, el contraluz.
There's windows everywhere, so what do?
So hay, obviamente, ventanas en todas partes, ¿o qué hacen?
So I will show you. Hold on. Here we go.
This is not a pretty shot. How are you supposed to do pretty lighting and nice shooting at home with all these windows and really no three-point lighting kit, especially with that one light the company gave you to put on top of the camera? It's hardly going to overpower the background here. How do I do three-point lighting with one light? Well, the window, especially indirect light like this is your key light. Turn the camera the other way. All right, now all I've done is turn the camera around. That window that was behind me, that's my key light now, lighting me from the side.
Ok, no, ahí básicamente cuando estaba en contraluz, decía la luz fría que le dio solo le va a dar una iluminación mínima en la caja, en la cara, y eso no funciona. Tiene que hacer de la luz natural el key, la luz principal, como lo vemos en esta toma, donde ahí su cara está iluminada.
And so then I can take now one light and use it as both a fill light and a backlight.
Y la luz pequeñita, la única luz adicional que tiene, la puede utilizar como una luz de back y de fill, de relleno y de back.
And I personally like to do two different color temperatures for my key light and my fill light.
Personalmente, Brendan le gusta utilizar dos diferentes temperaturas de color por la luz, por la principal y la back, o la fill.
Yeah, this one is daylight and this one is indoor or tungsten.
Por ejemplo, la parte delantera de su cara es la luz natural del día y la que está en la parte alta de la cabeza, en el cráneo, eso es tungsten, es adicional. Es amarilla, ¿no? Luz amarilla.
I love these LED lights. This one is called Nanlite, Nanlite. Let me see if I can get it. Yeah.
Okay, esta, por ejemplo, ama mucho esta que se llama Nanlite. Yep, we see it. Nanlite.
Do you like the autofocus on this news camera? This is really good, right?
Yeah. Y ustedes vieron, por ejemplo, miren, el autofoco de la cámara que utiliza. ¿Ven? Acaba de hacer el foco solo sobre Nanlite. Yeah.
It's got a really good macro right up to the lens there.
Ahí está, por ejemplo, pegado básicamente al lente y tiene una buena capacidad macro.
So you've seen these lights, they're not expensive. And in US dollars, this is about $85.
Eso, $85.
And some of these can be controlled with a phone app.
Y también se pueden controlar con una aplicación de celular.
So let me talk about key light, fill light, and backlight. Those are the 3 points of lighting. 3-point lighting is...
Regresamos al triángulo de iluminación.
So right now, I'm using a window as my key light. So let me turn...
Ahorita su luz principal, su key, es una ventana que está en la parte derecha de la pantalla.
Okay. This is completely natural light now.
Natural, luz natural.
And you'll notice the key light is coming in from the window, so that this is fine, but this isn't going to win any lighting awards, right?
Okay, o sea, esa luz natural está bien, pero tampoco es excepcional, no va a ganar ningún premio para iluminación.
And But if I add a little fill, now I have another one of these lights over here. So
Pero sí agrega una luz de fill que tiene aquí sobre su trípode. La agrega.
So watch my face as, I don't know, Sophia, can you highlight my video so it doesn't switch back and forth to Eric? I don't know if you can do that or not. There's a way to do it. I don't know. Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you for that. So yeah, so there's my key light. So now I would need to add a little bit of fill. You don't want so much fill that it overpowers the key light.
Por ejemplo, aquí ahorita Brendan acaba de poner demasiado fill. Ustedes ven que la luz sobre la parte izquierda de su cara se vuelve, no puede ser más fuerte que la luz principal.
So you want something around somewhere between 50 and 75%. You want the fill light.
O sea, quieren que el fill sea algo entre 50 y 75%.
This is just filling the shadows.
Eso es solamente para rellenar las sombras de la parte izquierda de su cara.
Now you may want a harsh fill light that really highlights the age and the wrinkles on the old man and that helps tell the story of his years and age.
O sea, a veces tú puedes querer una iluminación así como que fuerte, brutal, para dar peso a las ridas, a las líneas de expresión, como se dice, si tú quieres mostrar la edad de una persona, etcétera. Pues tú puedes querer una luz violenta, digamos.
And where you put the light is important too, because it can create shadows. If it's too high, the eyes become very deep, and maybe that's what you want. But this is why everyone loves the ring light, what they call the diva light, because it's very flattering because it flattens all of those wrinkles.
Hay algunas luces así que, por ejemplo, te ponen toda la cara flat, plana, o sea, ya no hay líneas de expresión ni nada. Hay gente que le gusta eso, pero Brendan insiste que la posición de la luz es muy importante para no crear demasiadas sombras, a menos que ustedes busquen crear sombras en alguna parte de la cara.
But just turning this light away, you can see it changes how my face is presented.
Pero miren, solo dando la vuelta a la luz, cómo cambia la apariencia de su cara.
And the same thing with the angle, so that if you have the light straight on, it is going to be more even, the lighting.
Pues si ponen la luz frente a la cara, toda la cara se va a ver más igual.
But as you move it off, you get this more oblique lighting that is going to create more shadows.
Pero si la ponen de manera más oblicua, obviamente se va a crear más sombras, en ese caso en el lado izquierdo de la pantalla de su cara.
But if I was interviewing, I don't know, if I want to look good, I'm going to do the key light, a little bit of fill right in there. Okay, and now I'm going to do a third light, which is a backlight. Let me lower the...
Pero si quiere, por ejemplo, verse bien, va a utilizar su luz principal, su ventana, va a agregar el fill a 50, 70%, y está ahorita agregando un backlight, una luz de back.
And here's the backlight. And all the backlight is doing is it's lighting my hair, what used to be there. It's now a bald spot.
Y ahorita, mira, el back está iluminando la parte alta de su cráneo.
And I'm also lighting my shoulders to separate them from the background. So look at the difference.
Está dando algo de iluminación a sus espaldas para separarles del fondo.
See the shoulder right there? And if I turn the light away, you don't see it anymore. See?
Yeah, sure.
And then this creates classic three-point lighting.
Y eso es el clásico triángulo de iluminación.
But again, lighting is an editorial choice. If you want to make me look scary for Halloween, or what do you celebrate? You don't celebrate.
Yeah, we do. Entonces, de nuevo, Brendan dice que la iluminación, al igual que la música, es una decisión editorial. Si quieren que Brendan se vea como tipo Halloween,
you know, this is scary, right?
Yeah.
Versus flat versus too high. And then glasses become a real problem because they create shadows.
Y obviamente las lentes pueden ser un problema porque crean sombras y reflexiones.
Yeah, there's your reflect. If you put it too even, you're going to see them in the reflection. If you go too high, you get a shadow over the eyes.
Yeah, si va demasiado alto, habrá unas sombras en el ojo, si no se va a ver la reflexión.
These lines here, see? So lighting is so important, but we can also we can paint with light. So you can light an object set the exposure, then take the light away, lock the exposure, take the light away, and then paint with light.
Podemos
Light
hacer
instead of the camera.
una pintura con luz. Podemos ubicar un objeto X, alejar la luz y mantener la exposición y después traer la luz. O sea, hacer como que una pintura.
And lighting, we could do 3 hours on lighting and not even touch the surface. But let me know if you have any questions. I see there's some questions.
Yeah, let me see. Okay. No, that's
no, that's just talking about the debate.
That's for the link for the closure of the Congress.
That's right. I'm sorry. Okay. Preguntas?
Okay. Todo el mundo, si tienen preguntas, por favor, adelante, ¿no? Brenda, les pasaremos a Brendan y Brendan está atento al chat. Yeah, there is one here.
Lighting.
Okay, what do you recommend to for not losing your la guía? So to respect the triangle, the illumination triangle. Sometimes it happens that minimum
movement. What is that?
Yeah, there is a movement.
Minimum movement of the light.
But, sometimes, what do you do when the light changes where you are? You know, when the sun moves or whatever.
Yes.
Or clouds arrived. Or...
Yes, that's hard. So you want to shoot in the shade with a shady background.
Entonces tú podrías, para evitar eso de cambiar el sol, y tal, tú te pones en una zona sombreada con un fondo no con sol, sino con sombras.
Because direct light is a problem. So let me show you an example.
Porque la luz directa que puede cambiar podría ser efectivamente un problema. Aquí un ejemplo.
Notice here that the background is darker than I am.
Okay, noten que el background, la parte trasera es mucho más oscura que su cara.
The eye is drawn to light. The eye is drawn to movement, and the eye is drawn to contrast.
Nuestro ojo está atraído por la luz, está atraído por el movimiento y por el contraste.
And the eye is always going to prefer looking at something that is brighter than something else.
El ojo siempre va a buscar mirar algo que es más claro que más oscuro.
And the eye is drawn to a fourth thing, which is sound.
Y también el ojo está atraído por un cuarto elemento que es el audio.
And this is universal because of evolution. Well, the tiger that is moving at you and making a noise is the one that's going to kill you.
Okay, y eso es universal, es el tigre que se mueve hasta ustedes y haciendo ruido es el que les va a matar.
I will pause. I'll play this video. This is actually about the rule of thirds. But I will pause it as I go so that Eric can translate.
Eso es otra vez la regla de los tercios.
But I also cover the lighting question that you just asked.
Yeah, and there is another one, eventually, someone saying that, how do you avoid the glasses? I mean, all the problem of reflex in the glasses.
Ask them to take them off.
Pregunta a la gente que si puede sacarse los lentes.
And if they say no, then you have to keep adjusting the lights.
Y si dicen que no pueden, pues tienes que ajustar la iluminación hasta que no haya reflejo.
That's right. Okay, so here we go.
Let's talk rule of thirds. I thought I knew what the rule of thirds were when I first started as a professional photographer.
Hablamos de la regla de los tercios, que él dice que cuando empezó como un fotógrafo profesional sabía de qué se trataba.
Working for news and figuring, well, we just give the viewer some looking room, we give the interview subject some looking room, one way or the other.
Entonces nos ponemos de un lado izquierdo o derecho, mirando en X y dando algo de espacio frente.
It's so much more than that, and it's going to make you a better photographer, not only for work, but it's going to make your vacation pictures look better too, because we're going to show you how to turn the rule of thirds guide on not only your Z90 camcorder, but also your personal phone and work phone.
Pero es mucho más que eso, ¿no? Es mucho más que eso, y nos va a enseñar ahorita cómo utilizar esa regla de manera eficiente, no solamente para una cámara profesional, sino para sus fotos de vacaciones con su iPhone.
The lines. Here's the vertical line number 1, here's vertical line number 2, and here's horizontal line number 1, and then horizontal line number 2. Now I have a grid overlaid over the shot. How did I match that perfectly? Because it's on the display on my camera. I always have it on. All the top photographers always have the rule of thirds guide on all of their cameras.
Aquí hay, por ejemplo, Brenda recuerda que como esas líneas verticales y horizontales, dice que los fotógrafos profesionales, los camarógrafos profesionales, siempre lo tienen puesto en sus cámaras o en sus celulares. Y es muy factible, es muy fácil.
So I'm going to move through this a little faster so that I don't want to waste your time because of the translation of all of it, just to get the concept.
Sure.
When shooting landscapes, B-roll of mountains or the ocean or a lake, you're going to want to put the horizon either on this third line or on this third line. So,
okay, cuando ustedes hacen algo de horizonte, de montañas grandes, van a querer poner el horizonte en la línea horizontal de arriba o de abajo.
See, there you're accentuating the sky.
Y ahí tú pones obviamente más fuerza al cielo.
And then here, you're accentuating las montañas.
Y aquí tú das valor a las montañas.
Yeah. And then we don't want to put it in the middle, en la media.
Lo que no queremos hacer es poner la montaña en la mitad.
And then the other thing is, oh yeah, here, I'll let him explain.
Token, we generally want to put our vertical subjects not in one of the thirds. That would be too far off to one side. If I put the interview subject way over here, this is way too much looking room. That's where the 4 points come in. You'll see there's...
Entonces él dice, lo que no queremos, por ejemplo, en una entrevista, poner nuestra fuente en los rectángulos de la izquierda o de la derecha, porque dejaría demasiado espacio vacío al frente. Y ahí viene la regla de los 4 puntos.
Lo siento, I should have put, I should have done a transcription on the video. I apologize.
Oh, it's okay.
Point 1 here, point 2 here, point 3 here, and point 4 here. These 4 dots are what you need to focus on most, because right now I'm centered, but if I was doing this as an interview, I would actually frame the interview subject up right here on this point. Remember, 4 dots. Forget the lines for a minute. It's where they intersect. It's these dots where you...
De ahí, olvídense de las líneas, sino más bien de los 4 puntos donde las líneas se cruzan y van a querer poner su fuente, su entrevistado en los puntos.
Want to put the interview subject. You'll also notice this is a more pleasing shot if I'm interviewing with someone off camera than this angle. So why did that one look better?
Eso es, por ejemplo, interesante. La primera cosa, cuando se puso a la derecha, él dice, se ve mejor que cuando está en esa posición.
It's the lighting. You want the lighting to come from the negative side, not this positive side. They want the positive or the positive, negative side of the frame, positive lighting.
Entonces, eso tiene que ver con la iluminación. ¿Okay? Ustedes quieren que la iluminación positiva venga del lado negativo del frame, del marco.
Where you want the light coming from, because that is where the interview subject is looking. Right now, my key light, the sky, the clouded sky, is hitting me this way. If I put me on this side, on this point, you're going to have, as the plane goes over, you're going to have the lighting not coming, it's too bright here and not bright enough here.
Ahí, por ejemplo, en el caso, obviamente cuando estaba en el lado derecho, tenía la luz del cielo nublado que le venía de frente, mientras que cuando se pone a la izquierda, hay demasiada luz en un lado de su cara y no hay suficientemente frente a él.
And by the way, I picked this spot because I knew the background was going to be darker than the foreground.
Y escogió ese lugar porque sabía que el background, la parte trasera de la foto, iba a ser mucho más oscura que la parte delantera de la toma.
So here you can see examples of me using the rule of thirds in actual shots in the field.
Aquí, por ejemplo, es Brendan utilizando la regla de los tercios en tomas que hizo en el campo.
See, if we put the cat in the middle or in the center, it doesn't look as good as it does on the rule of thirds.
Ahí se ve mejor chiquito que cuando está centrado.
And this is the reason they call it the rule of thirds is all the great masters, all the great artists have always used the rule of thirds.
Y todos los grandes maestros, pintores, etcétera, siempre han utilizado esa regla de los tercios.
The eye naturally wants to go to one of those places.
El ojo va naturalmente a uno de esos tercios.
Here's how to turn it on your iPhone. If you have an iPhone.
Yeah, ahí es como poner el grid, las líneas en su iPhone.
You'll notice there's none here on this camera. That's standard.
Aquí no hay, es el estándar.
But if we go into settings.
Pero si tú vas a settings.
Then go to under settings, go to camera.
Obviamente a cámara.
And then go to grid. Hold on. Grid, and then just turn that switch on.
Van a yo creo que nosotros.
And then when you go back to camera, there it is. The grid is on now.
Y ahí lo tienen puesto. Es cuadrícula en español, ¿no?
Almost every camera has a grid somewhere in the menu. So the Sony cameras, they call it guide.
Cualquier cámara tiene eso. O sea, casi todas las cámaras tienen un grid o una cuadrícula puesta. Solo hay que buscarla.
And I always have it on. In fact, I have it on right now. Let me show you that I am right on one of those 4 points right now. My nose is on.
Lo tiene puesto. Su cara, sus ojos y su nariz están en uno de los.
Even on a webcam, I'm in the rule of thirds.
Hasta en una cámara, hasta en la web. Okay.
So now, sometimes you do want to be centered up. It's actually, there is a technique some directors use, particularly in movies, where you want a center frame, but you're trying to, that's the look you're going for. But you need to understand the rule of thirds in order to break it.
Sí. De vez en cuando, si quieren centrar el sujeto, lo pueden hacer. O sea, a veces es igual una decisión editorial de centrar su fuente.
Let's see. Get to the next thing. Okay. I like to, let me hit share again. Hold on, sorry. There we go. Okay. This, I like to use, hold on, let me hit. So that's a hailstorm.
Esto es una, ¿cómo se llama? Granizo, una granizada.
And if I shoot this in normal speed, it doesn't have the same effect as slow motion.
Y lo graba a velocidad normal, no tiene el mismo efecto que en velocidad lenta, en slow motion.
So here it is. This is on an iPhone at 240 frames per second. Same storm.
Eso es la misma tempestad en un iPhone a 250 frames por segundo.
Wait, hold on. Here it comes. Sorry.
Wow.
Oh, it's the next shot, I think. Or no, I thought I had it in here. Hold on. Sorry, that's my fault. Here it is.
Aquí está. Velocidad lenta, ¿no? Slow motion.
So now you can see the individual granules of ice.
Ahorita pueden ver mucho mejor cada pedazo de granizo.
So this is obvious, but how do I use that to tell a story?
¿Cómo utiliza eso para contar la historia?
So these are all shots with in slow motion for a story I just did on problems at the airport.
Eso era para ilustrar problemas del aeropuerto.
And it becomes, you don't even need a tripod because you're shooting in slow motion.
Y no, ni siquiera necesitas un trípode porque estás grabando en slow motion.
This is my favorite shot right here.
Esa es su toma favorita. El aterrizaje del Delta.
So it changes the emotion of, but also the focus. We can slow down and take our time to tell the story. Similarly, we can speed it up. This is a time lapse of the clouds, which shows the passage of time.
O sea, al contrario, tú puedes hacer un time lapse, tú puedes acelerar las tomas para mostrar un poco el paso del tiempo.
A lot of people use time lapses now. They become much more common, but I've been using them for years to tell a story, not just as wallpaper in a story, but this one is about how this shot is for part of the story where I'm going to say that the government is taking too long to fix the problem, and this is the seat of government.
Eso, por ejemplo, es una toma que utiliza para visualizar, para graficar el hecho de que el gobierno está tomando demasiado tiempo para resolver un problema, y por eso esa toma.
One thing I suggest is playing with your equipment. Take your cameras and use them so that you are comfortable with them when you absolutely need them, and then your family, as a benefit, gets great vacation videos.
Una recomendación es que realmente utilicen, jueguen con su celular cada vez que pueden, no solamente solo cuando lo necesitan, así estarán listos cuando necesitarán trabajar o para tener fotos y videos de vacaciones buenísimos.
This is when I first got this GoPro style camera that can do slow motion, and I'm just playing with it because I might need this for a story, but also now I have these memories saved. I just loved what the slow motion does to these otherwise typical shots.
Ahí, por ejemplo, es con una GoPro nueva que él probó así con la familia para ver qué pasa. Entonces, le permitió familiarizarse con eso y además tener estos recuerdos con su familia.
And I don't know how smooth it's playing. It's very smooth here, but because of the internet, it may be choppy where you're seeing it.
No, it's smooth.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Oh, and you can, of course, reverse the video too, so you can come out of the water. Here.
Obviamente pueden poner el video en reverse o así, en lugar de caer al agua, saldrán del agua.
Estoy un poquito loco. Mm-hmm. No translation necessary.
No. I wasn't going to.
So this is the same thing. So let me go back for just a second. These are my lifelong friends.
¿Esos son sus amigos?
And since we were 8 years old.
Son amigos desde que tenían 8 años.
And we're now in our 50s.
Y ahorita están en los 50.
And we get together every year to do something.
Y cada año se reúnen para hacer algo.
And this year, just a month ago, we went to New York City and walked the entire length of the island of Manhattan before we needed new hips.
Y este año, hace un mes, decidieron ir a Nueva York y caminar en todo Manhattan.
If you look right here, I'm wearing a camera on my shirt.
Ustedes ven que ha puesto una cámara sobre su camiseta.
Let me see if I have the piece of equipment necessary. Yes. So, hold on. Let me see if I can get it out here real quick. Sorry for the delay. There we go. Okay. Well, it's all tangled up with wires, but I can show you the idea. So this is a magnet
these are called snap mounts.
Where we are seeing the photo.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Okay, so these are called snap mounts.
Se llama snap mount.
Yeah, and these are magnets, 4 magnets.
Son 4 magnet, lo que ponemos en la nevera.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And it's on a necklace, on like a rope around your neck.
Y lo ha puesto como en un collar.
And you put the GoPro on another magnet like this.
Tú pones la GoPro sobre otro magnet así.
Yeah, and then it will connect.
Y los dos se van a conectar así.
Even under a shirt.
Y funciona hasta si hay una camiseta entre los dos.
Right, so then you have like a body camera.
Entonces tienes como que una cámara sobre tu cuerpo.
So let me show you what this looks like, because I wanted to spend time with my friends, but I also wanted to document our 18-mile walk through New York City.
Pero quería obviamente documentar el momento con tus amigos, pero también documentar esa caminata en Nueva York.
So I did something called a hyperlapse.
Algo que se llama un hyperlapse.
So we started in the Bronx, and now we're walking through northern Manhattan. I'll let you watch a little bit of it. There's 8 minutes. I'm not going to make you watch, or 9 minutes.
Hay varios minutos, no va, pero eso es un hyperlapse de esa caminata que inició en el Bronx. Está adelantando partes de la caminata.
We stopped for a beer there. You can see all the different places we went to in New York, and we compressed 8 hours or something into 9 minutes.
O sea, básicamente 8 horas comprimida a 8 o 9 minutos.
So it's just, I could tell this story. It took me no extra effort because I mounted the camera on myself and I just had it hooked up to a battery pack.
Y realmente no fue un esfuerzo porque pegó la cámara sobre su cuerpo y con una batería adicional.
So you're saying, how does this help me as a journalist, right? This is, okay, you're showing me your vacation videos.
Entonces, ¿en qué nos ayuda como periodistas? Dice, okay, esas son las vacaciones de Brendan, ¿en qué nos ayuda como periodistas?
Because you bring them back, and then you bring back this technique, and then now you can incorporate it into your stories.
Porque ahorita esa técnica la pueden incorporar a sus historias.
Let me see what else we wanted to. Yeah, so let me talk about shooting negative space.
Ahorita hablemos un poco de cómo grabar en espacios negativos.
So when we're reporting, we always have to hurry up and wait. We have to rush to get somewhere, and then we get there and the event doesn't start for another hour.
Muy a menudo, típicamente, tenemos que apurarnos para llegar a un lugar y después esperar para el evento o que nos den paso.
Because the president always runs late, right?
Que los presidentes siempre andan tarde. Sí. Yeah.
So this is when I'm shooting shots like this, to shoot some negative space. You're like, why am I shooting this? Why do I care about this?
Y ahí está. Maybe, can you explain what you call a negative space?
Yes, thank you. So this, you'll notice there's something in the shot that's in focus and something in the shot that's not in focus. This happens to be where the speaker will be, where the member of the government will be speaking.
Ahí, por ejemplo, en esos momentos de espera, en lugar de estar sentado solamente mirando su iPhone, graba ese tipo de espacios, llama negativo, con esa diferencia, comparte con foco y otras partes no enfocadas.
So why am I shooting this?
¿Por qué lo hago?
Because I'm going to put my documents or my graphics here, my
Porque
words or graphics.
Ahí es donde va a poner sus documentos, sus gráficas, sus supers, como eso.
So here's what it looks like in a story.
Okay, eso es como se ve en una historia.
The subject called 911. He stated that he didn't know where he was at, that his car is in the water and sinking.
He's possibly going to be out of oxygen.
And I was unable to be able to ping his location from our system.
At this point, it ain't good.
I've tried calling him back numerous times, and I'm not able to get him back.
So I created a place for the graphics. And this was about a man who called the emergency services while his car was sinking in the water.
Eso, por ejemplo, es cuando un señor estaba llamando el 911 mientras que su auto estaba hundiéndose en el agua.
And so I waited for a rainstorm because this was a story that I was working on long term.
Eso, por ejemplo, no era una historia news que tenía que mandar ese rato, eso era una historia, tenía más tiempo, entonces esperó una tempestad para hacer esa toma.
And I had already edited the sound of the emergency call together for the top of my story in advance before shooting this.
Entonces, el audio ya estaba editado, entonces sabía cuánto tiempo duraba la conversación antes de grabar esa toma.
So here's what the raw video looks like and how I shot it.
Eso es el video bruto, antes de, durante la tempestad.
The subject called 911.
Oops, let me show,
I'm going
hold on one second, sorry. Let me show you now. I was playing back the sound in real time in the car.
Entonces, estaba pasando el audio en tiempo real en el auto.
And then I'm listening for the breaks in between the calls.
O sea, está escuchando los huecos, los espacios vacíos durante la llamada telefónica.
And then as soon as I hear the break, I'm turning on the windshield wiper.
Y cada vez que escucha que hay una parada, ahí es cuando pone la cosa para lavar estoy perdiendo mi inglés, mi español. ¿Cómo se llama esa cosa para sacar el agua del auto? Sofía, ayuda.
Parabrisas.
Parabrisas, yeah, parabrisas.
Yeah, that's right. Here you go.
The subject called 911. He stated that he didn't know where he was at, that his car is in the water and sinking.
He's possibly going to be out of oxygen.
Do you get the idea?
Yeah.
And then I'm using an app. Let me show you the app real quick.
Y está utilizando una aplicación que nos va a mostrar ahorita.
This one is called LED Audio.
Se llama LED Audio.
And it uses it hears the natural sound in the room right now.
Está, por ejemplo, ese audio está captando el ambiente de la habitación.
And creates this display in real time.
Y crea ese display en tiempo real.
And I can change the color.
Puede cambiar el color.
And I can change even the way it displays. I can change the amplitude of the
Puede cambiar la amplitud. That's great. Okay, so we have a sound and you want to do something visual. The only thing you have to do is play that sound and record it with that. With your
and shoot video of the phone. And since this was a phone call, it was perfectly appropriate.
Y después tú lo grabas en video en tu celular y tú tienes un display visual del audio.
There's a couple of different
There's a question from
options.
Erika. Can you repeat the name of the app, please?
LED audio.
Okay, let me see if it's okay on the chat.
Yeah, I can type it in too.
Is this okay? This one? LED audio?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
LED. Okay, LED. LED. LED audio.
Yeah.
It's free? It's free?
I think it's free, yes. If it's not free, it's $1, maybe like $1 US.
Okay.
I've had it, but it's not, this app is not meant for television or for news. It is meant for people to listen to music.
Yeah, está hecho, típicamente eso es para que la gente escuche música, no ha sido hecha para noticias.
But when you see an app and you say, wait, I can use this for a story. So I'm always looking, instead of a story looking for ideas, I always bank ideas looking for a story.
Okay, en lugar de, o sea, básicamente Brendan acumula ideas que podrían servir en historia en lugar de hacer lo contrario. O sea, busca cosas que le pueden ayudar antes de que, why? Because when you are in the middle of the story, it's too late.
Yeah, because how many times are you working on a story and you're like, oh, I need something creative? It's very hard to be creative with a gun to your head.
Yeah. Dice que es muy duro ser creativo cuando tienes una pistola en la cabeza, tipo, necesito hacer tal cosa, pero no hay tiempo, etcétera, etcétera.
And so when you're working on another story, or when you're driving around with your family or on your day off, and you see things, you should say, can I use that in a story someday if I need it?
O sea, cuando tú, por ejemplo, estás así con la familia, vas al shopping o whatever, manejando, que tú ves cosas, tú siempre debes estar preguntándote, ¿podría utilizar eso en una historia?
And so, por ejemplo, I use I once saw a map of the United States in a playground at a school.
Por ejemplo, si yo veo un mapa de los Estados Unidos en un patio de escuela.
It was painted on the playground, on the basketball court.
Estaba pintando en el piso de una cosa de básquet.
And so I just remembered that one day with my kids at the playground.
Y sus hijos estaban aquí, algún día lo recordó.
And then I had a story where I needed to walk on a giant map to talk about the laws from one state to another.
Y algún día tuvo una historia después de eso, donde quería hablar de la diferencia de leyes de un estado al otro, entonces necesitaba caminar sobre un mapa.
And as luck would have it, that story was about the laws affecting schools in different states.
Además, suerte es que esas leyes diferentes de estado a estado eran sobre escuelas.
So I didn't need to come up with the idea. I already had a map and a place in my head when that story presented itself.
Entonces ya en su cabeza sabía dónde había ese mapa en una escuela que podía servir para la historia.
You know, I don't think I have it. I might be able to find it very quickly, but this is the idea: is to have ideas that you bank and you're thinking of before you need them.
Sí, entonces ustedes se hacen bancos de ideas, de tomas que ustedes almacenan hasta que un día las puedan utilizar.
And so here's an example. Yeah, here we go. So this is two different GoPro style cameras, but each is facing a different way on one handle.
Aquí, por ejemplo, esos son dos GoPros, pero las dos obviamente tienen un enfoque en dos lugares diferentes y eso está en el mismo grid.
So now I can do an interview, even a confrontational interview with a government official on the street where I'm getting a picture of the official and a picture of me in 4K at the same time with one hand.
Entonces ahí, por ejemplo, lo utiliza porque puede hacer una entrevista, por ejemplo, confrontacional, donde, por ejemplo, en la izquierda estaría la fuente encontrada en la calle y él haciendo las preguntas en la otra.
So this is very helpful. And there's microphones facing each way. So I don't even need to have a microphone because this is going to be in their face.
Ya hay micrófonos en las dos direcciones. Ni siquiera necesita cargar un micrófono porque la GoPro está prácticamente en la cara de la persona.
And then, let me see, trying to think of another good example to show.
Just before I forget, there was a question about the editing video program you use.
I use Final Cut Pro 10.
Final Cut Pro 10.
Yes, which is Apple, Mac.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, and now I've been doing this a long time. Here's an example of knowing how your camera works.
Eso es otro ejemplo de cómo se debe saber cómo tu cámara funciona.
These rockets are antiques, museum pieces from an era long since gone. But until 30 years ago, they were just a dream in someone's head. Models of things to come.
So this is knowing that the camera, so this is a model, it's a toy.
Obviamente eso es un juguete.
And I know that my camera in full daylight will have an infinite depth of field.
Y sabe que
Everything
su
will be in
cámara
focus.
en pleno día va a tener una profunda de campo infinita.
So the rockets behind me are real and the one in front of me is fake.
Obviamente los dos cohetes del fondo son reales y el primero es falso, es un juguete.
And as you can see from my suit and my hair, this was a very long time ago.
Esto fue un reportaje de hace algunos meses o años.
Yes. And but then we can tell that part of the story. This is another example of the same thing. This is called forced perspective.
Eso es una falsa perspectiva.
So the car on the right is real. The car on the left is a toy.
El auto a la derecha es real, el de la izquierda es un juguete.
The difference between the car market today and, say, 10 years ago is that people are no longer interested in vehicles simply for utility. They want to have fun on the pavement and the streets. And let's face it, these cars are nothing more than toys for adults.
Okay. So I was even crazier when I was younger.
Dice que estaba más loco de joven.
But it gives you an idea of trying to think creatively and differently to tell a story.
O sea, les da algunas ideas de cómo pensar creativamente para contar una historia de manera diferente.
Like I had to tell a story about how antibodies work for COVID-19.
Ahí, por ejemplo, era una historia sobre what is antibodies?
Antibodies is like the
Anticuerpos.
Los anticuerpos. Ya. Okay. Los anticuerpos funcionan en caso del
anticuerpos. That's right. So I used my children's Legos.
Entonces utilizo los Legos de sus hijos.
What are antibodies, and why would we want to test for them in a large portion of the population? Antibodies are like the building blocks of your immune system, and each one represents a disease to which you've been exposed at some point in your lifetime. That seasonal flu strain from a couple of years ago? Well, your immune system responded by creating just the right antibody to connect with that virus almost like a lock and key, and then made millions of copies of that antibody, destroying the virus, making you feel better, but those antibodies remained in your system. The novel coronavirus is different. Novel simply means new. There isn't a single person on the planet who already had antibodies to this virus last year. And what that means is none of us had the antibodies in the library of our immune system to fight this new virus. That means the body would have to create its own new antibody to see exactly which one would fit with the coronavirus and destroy it. And then once it does, the body makes millions of copies of those antibodies. By testing the blood for the presence of the antibodies, we can tell not only how many people have been infected with the virus, including in the past, but also who may already have immune systems primed to fight reinfection.
So that was a simple explanation. And this is different. This is thinking differently that instead of me doing a story and going on interviews, I'm just actually using Legos to explain a complex topic.
Entonces, por ejemplo, es una manera diferente de explicar un asunto que es algo complejo, en lugar de hacer el reportaje clásico, salir, hacer entrevistas con especialistas, utiliza Legos para él mismo contar la historia.
And you can do this very quickly and then take the rest of the day off.
Y tú puedes hacer esto rápidamente y tomarte el resto del día para descansar.
Of course I'm kidding, but yes. Let me see. Any questions in the chat? Let me see.
Let me see. Grillos, no olviden, ¿no? Si tienen preguntas, manden y Brendan está atento. Which edition program do you recommend for beginner?
Oh, you mean editing program?
Yeah, for a beginner, someone who never did that before.
Adobe Premiere. I'll type it in the...
Empiecen con Premiere, Adobe Premiere. Eso es una respuesta a la pregunta de Pamela Cifuentes.
And the reason is it has become the standard, so you should learn the rules of nonlinear editing from using the system that is the most common and standard.
Adobe Premiere es el estándar más común. Es el que, por ejemplo, nosotros tenemos en la universidad. Entonces dice, empiecen con este y después pasan a otro.
What you need to do is you need to play with your editing system and try to make it do things it's not designed to do.
Lo que tienen que hacer es jugar con el software de edición y tratar de hacerle hacer cosas por las cuales no fue diseñado.
So I had a story.
Sebastián Paredes says he uses After Effects.
Oh yes, After Effects is excellent. Yes. I had a story about a boy who was a teenager who was attacked by a police dog.
Eso, por ejemplo, es una historia sobre un adolescente que fue atacado por un perro policial.
And here, I'll play while this is playing, I'll explain.
Yeah.
So
this is the scene
I had the location of the attack and I had the police video.
O sea, eso es el lugar del ataque y tenía el video de la policía.
But what I didn't, the police video was low resolution and all of the action in the video was taking place in a corner of the video, which made it very difficult to use on television.
Pero la calidad del video de la policía era mala y la acción se daba en una esquina y no era difícilmente utilizable.
And remember, we want to take our problems and make them solutions.
Recuerden que tenemos que transformar nuestros problemas en soluciones.
So I brought the video to the location and matched the shot exactly.
Entonces llevó el video al lugar del ataque para que haya un encuadre perfecto.
Again, this looks
but
silly.
Also against the commands of his handler. Fast forward.
So now watch what it looked like when it was all put together. Now this is difficult video to watch because a teenager is being hurt by a police dog. So warning.
Okay, es un video difícil, ¿no? Un adolescente está atacado por un perro.
And you see how everything's happening down here in the corner of the frame.
Básicamente lo grueso ocurre aquí en la parte de donde está el perro a la izquierda.
So watch what I did.
Miren lo que hice.
This is the scene today. Police wouldn't give us the dash camera video until this year because technically the case was still open. But now we can look back 2 years through a window in time to what police say was the critical moment. First, the officer says, "Come here." Play.
Come here right now.
Fast forward. Then the officer says, "Get down on the ground." Play.
Get on the ground.
But the officer doesn't say, "Get down on the ground on your stomach with your hands out." So the teen instead decides to sit on this curb behind a bush. Then he puts his hands up. But police say putting his hands up and hands down behind the bush constituted furtive movements that triggered the dog to deploy not only on his own without a command from his handler, play, but also against the commands of his handler. Fast forward. What follows are 18 commands of off, yet the dog continues to attack. Then right here, the leash breaks and the dog goes back and grabs his hand and holds him now for another 8 seconds. 2 attacks, no commands to apprehend, ignoring all commands to stop. The dog nearly biting his own handler in the end.
I know that's difficult to watch. There's a couple of things technically that I did here.
Aquí hay un par de cosas técnicas, dice que es difícil de mirar, pero que un par de cosas de consejos técnicos.
The biggest thing was matching the location.
Lo más difícil fue que haya un encuadre perfecto, ¿no? Entre el antiguo video y el actual.
You'll notice the trees, the roof, everything is exactly in the same
Y
place.
miren el tronco, el techo, es exacto, ¿no?
And that's actually what I used. I brought the video to the scene and moved the camera around until things like this corner right here, sticking out behind the tree, matched the video.
Y por ejemplo, se ubicó con ese pequeñito triángulo del pedacito de techo para que sea exactamente el mismo que en el video. Por eso trajo la cámara.
Yeah. Some things had changed, like this broken curb had been repaired. See?
Hay algunas cosas que cambiaron. Por ejemplo, ustedes ven en la parte izquierda baja del cuadrado hay una cosa que estaba dañada que ahorita ha sido reparada.
And if we go back to the beginning, you can see I'm also looking here, this tree intersecting with these windows and this roof.
Por ejemplo, aquí hay un tronco que bloquea.
And you see it matches perfectly.
Y que es igual, ¿no? Igual en el video nuevo.
And here's the thing, I had only one take to do this.
Y el problema es que solo tenía una toma para hacer todo eso.
Because the workers at the apartment complex said that they were going to get the manager who was going to ask me to leave.
Porque los trabajadores iban a pedir al manager, a alguien para decirle que salga. O sea, no tenía tiempo de hacerlo.
Yeah. They didn't tell me to leave. They said, you can stay until the manager gets here.
O sea, le dijo, se puede quedar, pero cuando llega el manager, ustedes tendrán que irse.
And so, because I only had one take, what I did, because I knew the video so well by memory, is I employed a special technique.
Y ahí, por ejemplo, como conocía el video tan bien, ha utilizado una técnica especial.
And the technique was saying stop, fast forward, play, because that gave me the ability to alter time in the editing.
Y ahorita él dijo, por ejemplo, stop, fast forward, toca, play, etcétera, que le permitió trabajar eso en edición.
And I'm pointing to these locations that I know things are happening in the video. I remembered the key moments and then just made the video fit what I was saying instead of making me fit what the video
O sea, aquí es más el video que se adaptó a su texto, pero eso fue posible porque Brendan conocía el video, sabía dónde pasaban cosas, por eso puede apuntar al lugar exacto y todo eso.
If you do something like this, make sure you shoot it as wide as you can, more wide.
Si van a hacer algo así, asegúrense de que sea una toma abierta, lo más abierta posible.
Because you can always zoom in, but you can't zoom beyond what you recorded. Zoom out.
Yeah, okay. There are a couple of questions, people interested about texts, advice, tips to write about the script.
Tips about the script, sure. Yeah, what specifically? Go ahead. Or
well, I always have problems with the script of videos. What tips can you give? Let me see.
Okay, that's no problem. All right. So the most important thing in writing is logging the video and the interviews.
Ok, tienen que...
Transcription.
Yeah. Una buena relación entre el video y sus entrevistas.
And it's not just transcribing, it's also, if you're an artist working in clay, you're making things on a potter's wheel with clay.
Si usted es un artista trabajando con arcilla.
Or if you're a painter painting on a canvas.
O si es un pintor.
The first thing you do is you make sure you have enough clay and you know what kind of clay you have, or you make sure you have the right paints, or you know what paints you have.
Antes de empezar a pintar, tienen que estar seguros de que tienen la arcilla suficiente o las pinturas necesarias, o sea, que el material a su disposición es suficiente.
So it's exactly the same with writing your script. You need to know what you have in order to write
para un
what you
script es
have.
lo mismo. Necesita usted saber qué es lo que tiene, qué material tiene.
I know that sounds simple and obvious, but it's the most important thing about writing for television or for
Puede parecer
video.
simple, pero es lo más importante. O sea, es obvio, pero es lo más importante para hacer writing en televisión.
So I spend more time watching what I've shot and transcribing my interviews than actually writing the story.
Pasa mucho más tiempo mirando las tomas, escuchando las entrevistas que escribiendo el guión.
You can't use what you don't know you have.
No puede utilizar algo si no sabes que lo tienes.
And again, that sounds so simple, but so many people don't realize that. Go ahead.
Mucha gente no realiza eso.
And this is right back to primary school, but beginning, middle, and end. You have to have a great beginning. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Ok, no. Y tienen que tener una historia con un inicio, un desarrollo y un final.
So you have to have a great beginning, a solid middle, and a good end, or at least one of those things.
Un excelente inicio, una parte mediana sólida y un muy buen final.
So I'm going to show you the scariest thing any writer will ever see.
And that would be the last one because
I know,
then
yeah.
Finish, yeah.
This is the scariest thing you will ever see. Hold on.
Es miedoso, lo más miedoso
Here we go.
que hayamos visto.
A blank page.
Yeah.
What do I write here?
¿Qué hago aquí?
Right? So that's the hardest thing to write is the first thing. But knowing what you're going to start with, especially a visual or a sound. The story I'm working on today is about these police officers who had done something bad, and I'm going to start with them describing what they did wrong in an interview with the
Por ejemplo, lo más difícil es obviamente el
investigation.
inicio, la primera oración, lo que tú empiezas, y entonces es vital que ustedes tengan una idea de cómo van a empezar, sea ese inicio, un audio, un video, un ambiental. La historia sobre la cual Brendan está trabajando hoy es un problema de violencias policíacas y ya ha decidido que va a empezar con esos policías contando lo que hicieron mal.
How would I say most important?
Yeah.
The first word is the most important, right?
Perfect.
But the scariest thing is a blank page. So I guess we're out of time, right?
Yeah, it's just the time to close. So people, todo el mundo, yo sé que hubiéramos podido quedarnos muchísimo más tiempo. Ustedes tienen todos los contactos de Brendan desde el inicio. Estoy seguro que si tienen un consejo, una cosa, le pueden mandar un tweet o un mensaje para que les dé una respuesta por más ocupado que sea. Yo quiero realmente agradecer, o sea, Brendan, la visualización, la manera de visualizar muchos de sus temas ha sido realmente inspirador. Vamos a tratar de mostrar a nuestra facultad, nuestros profesores, los estudiantes que estuvieron en otros talleres. Todo el mundo, quizás, Sofía, puedes abrir los micrófonos. Nos despedimos de Brendan y todos ustedes les esperamos como que a continuación para la última media hora del Congreso, el final, el lanzamiento del concurso de Periodismo de Frontera y el cierre del Congreso. Pero mientras tanto, hi, bye, Brendan. Thank you for all. It was great.
Gracias. Hasta luego.
Gracias.
Buena
Brendan.
suerte.
Bye, thank you.
Ok, todo el mundo, les esperamos entonces en el cierre y la invitación al concurso. Gracias por haber asistido al taller. Gracias a Brendan de nuevo. Gracias, Sofía.